Hello, my YouTube family and friends. I pray that you all are having a beautiful, blessed Thursday in the mighty name of Jesus. And if you have not said it already, let's say it together. Thank you, Jesus, for another day. So I wanted to hop back on here real quick. I wanted to share this because, this was in my spirit to share, and I should have shared this way back, but I'm gonna go ahead and share it now. But I want to read. I've been drinking this tea. Proverbs chapter 10, and it's verse 19 and also verse 22. So verse 19 reads, "When words are many, sin is not absent, but he who holds his tongue is wise." And verse 22, "The blessing of the Lord brings wealth, and he adds no trouble to it." And again, that was Proverbs chapter 10, verse 19 and verse 22. And I'm reading out of the Disciples Study Bible, y'all. So anyway, I wanted to share this because this happened like a little bit after we moved here to Colorado. And this is no way, before I get started in what I'm going to share, this is no way, form, or fashion I'm bashing black churches or anything like that. But I'm telling the truth. And I'm going to also share with you all how how he's dealing with me in that way. And so anyway, of course, a lot of you know, if you've been watching these videos and following this God's channel, that we relocated to Colorado from Tennessee. And so needless to say, I've been in the South all my life. I'm 51. I've been around just southern, just chicken and barbecue and greens and candy yams, cornbread, all of this stuff. Sitting under a tree talking about people. I've been around people who drink liquor, who smoke, all this stuff, which I'm sure we all have been exposed to all of that. But this is what I've never did any of that, but I did other stuff. But I'm just saying, I was always around people who did drink and stuff like that. But just to give you a little quick background there. But I've just always been in church, as far back as I can remember. My mom, I was raised by a single mom, and then of course she met my stepfather. And so it was a blended family and all that. He had 4 daughters, and then she had me, and then she had 2 children with him. And of course, again, that's my stepfather. So, everything just kind of blended together. But when they came about and they got married, so my stepfather was already in a church. And he was actually in the church where his ex-wife was a part of. So nothing really changed. We were sort of, inducted into that. We were brought into that. Here come this young woman with a child that she already had. And then I think, of course, my brother was born, and then my sister. So it was 3 kids, essentially. And then, it was just, I've shared a video about that. It was just, it was a little mess there going on. But anyway, they still married, my mom and stepfather. But I gave that background to let you all know that's just, what I've always been under and stuff like that. And so we were at that church, and that's, I grew up pretty much, from my, elementary, when I was like elementary school age, and then preteen, and then teenager. And then from there, we started going to another church. So we just always was in a Baptist church, and we were in Tennessee, and, so I've always been in church, nothing was, I baptized at that church by that former minister. He's since passed away, but nobody, never, sort of explained to me, this is the reason we do this. It was just, you just go to church because that's just what black people do. That's what you do. You go to church, you get baptized, you get your certificate, you go back there in the back in the fellowship hall, get you some cake and punch or whatever. And, nobody's really telling you what you did, why you did it, preparing you for what comes after that. It's just formality, it's just, that's what we do. That's just what we do. But fast forward, as time went on, of course, tradition. traditionalism. That's what it is. And you know, it's just religious spirit that's always been following me. For is no longer following me, because that's been broken off my life by the blood of Jesus. But just out of tradition, you know, you're just doing stuff just to do it. And so when we moved here, of course, after it was a faith move, God told us to move here and everything. But after we moved here, my late husband passed away and all that in 2021. So we moved here in 2022. And so, y'all, to be honest, I was just, you know, so looking forward to, you know, I missed that. You know, I missed it. Even though I knew we were in the West, you know, come from the South, but we moved to the West. And, you know, I would Google, before we started going to the church we attend now, and we've been there since 2022, but I was so missing that. You know, I'm like, you know, where are the black churches at? You know, and that's when, at that time, I was still talking to my family, a lot of them. You know, I should not have been, but, you know, I was talking to them then, and they were wishing us bad and stuff in the spirit, but I was still talking to them, and they were like, what church you going to? So I was telling my stepdad, I got to find the black churches here, you know. So, you know, I was being black, you know, I can't find the black churches here. And so the Lord was telling me, you know, that's not why I moved you here. That's not why I moved you from Tennessee to Colorado. I moved you from that, you know, because I'm doing something new here. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Do you not perceive it? You know, that's in Isaiah. And it's like, why are you trying to look? You're looking for what you did there. It's not here, because I moved you from that, you know, and it is here. But he didn't want me to go, you know, to it. You know, it's everywhere. But he was basically, Jesus was telling me, what are you doing? You know, you're going backwards. I want you to move forward. And so, y'all, I was so determined, because I was like, okay, I can't do all the stuff I used to do, you know, sitting under the tree and talking about people on the porch and all them bad habits and stuff, and gossiping and eating chicken and barbecue and ribs and all that. I can't do that. So let me do the next best thing. Let me find me a black church to go to. And so I Googled, you know, that's what we were doing, because we were, at that time, we were in a hotel because we couldn't find a place to live, or we had the money, but we just couldn't find a place to live. So I was literally Googling on Saturday night or Saturday, you know, what, you know, churches in Colorado, you know, Baptist churches. And so we just randomly going to churches, y'all, just randomly. Some were predominantly white. We went to, I think it was only one black church we went to that was all black. But I think the rest were, you know, just predominantly white, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, we were just, you know, randomly I was just choosing churches, because I was just I wanted to stay doing what I was doing there, you know. And the Lord, I know you know, I'm like, I didn't come all the way to Colorado to just be sitting up in the house or the hotel and not going to church on Sunday, because I was always raised, that's what you do. And so I was trying, you know, I want to keep, you know, still stay close to God, and I really needed his guidance, you know, because we're in a new place. So I gotta stay close to him, because I gotta know which way we going, you know, which way he want us to go. So everything was fresh and new or whatever. And so we were at a gas station when I think it was one Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if it was Friday or Saturday, but this one we were in a hotel. And so y'all, I think back on that, I spent so much money on them Airbnbs and hotels, but we needed a place to live. You know, we kept trying to find a house to rent, and all of them, you know, when you put your name in the pot, and it's 50 to 100 people looking at that one house. And I'm like, gosh, you know, but the right one had to open up for us, but it did a few weeks before my daughter would start her junior year in high school. But anyway, I've shared that too. But we were at a gas station, and I think, I'm trying to think who was with me that day. I want to say I don't know if it was both my daughters or just one, but anyway, one of them was with me. And so I was putting gas in the car, and there was a gentleman. Actually, I'm trying to remember, y'all. It's been a little while ago, because that was in 2022. So I want to say the man was the one that was talking to me, the husband, because the wife, I can't remember, she went inside the convenience store while he was pumping the gas and talking to me, and she came out, and then me and her started talking. I can't remember, but I just know I ended up talking to both of them. So they were older couple, like they were maybe late 60s, early 70s. Y'all, but now I think back on that, I'm like, were they angels? Because, and I'm going to tell you why. But, so we were talking and everything, and so they were, you know, every time I would meet somebody, and I still do that, but I don't do it as much as I used to do it, put emphasis on it like I used to, because I feel like we've been here 3 years, so I'm like, okay, we ain't new like we were, because I know where places are and stuff, so I feel like I'm not a native, but I feel like I know some stuff now. So anyway, we were talking or whatever, and so I was telling him, you know, we had recently moved here, and he was like, oh, where y'all moved from? You know, I told him everything, and I said, it's a faith move. I always would say that, reverence Jesus, and yeah, you know, my late husband passed away. It was always the same, you know, I give him the same story, testimony. So he said, oh, yeah. So they was talking about, they were going to some event, and it was some event, a jazz event or something, they were telling me. And so I'm not really into jazz or whatever. I think he said jazz. It was some event that was going to happen, and he was telling me about that. I was like, oh, okay. So then the church topic came up, and so I was telling them, I said, yeah. I said, they said, what church have y'all been, you member in the church? I said, no, sir. I said, we've just been visiting. And he said, well, you know, would y'all like to visit the church we attend? And so he gave me the name of it here and stuff. And the church was in Denver. And so he gave me the address. So, oh no, he told me the name of it. So he said, we got a website. So he said, you can look it up when you get a chance. So I couldn't wait to get back to the hotel, and I looked it up, and we went to the church the next day, which was Sunday. I think that we went that upcoming Sunday, because I can't remember when I met them if it was a Friday or Saturday, but I know we went to church that upcoming Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. We attended it. And so I was excited. Yeah, we were so excited. Me and my 3 younger children, we were so excited. And you know, I got sort of dressed up, and they did too. And you know, we were just so excited because the way he was talking about the church, and I was like, okay, you know, a black church, you know, because like I said, we had been going to some of the predominantly white churches, which was fine, you know, but I'm saying, I was like, okay, you know, a little South here out here. And so, because, you know, a lot of times when you look up churches on the website and stuff, it don't give it, you know, you don't give its due. You have to go be there in person. And so I sort of couldn't really get a good take on the church looking on the website. It just didn't do it for me. So I said, okay, we're going to find out when we go. So we get to the church, nice, big, nice church. So we get to the church, and we, you know, park and stuff. I was like, okay, it's a well-attended church, appear to be, you know. And of course, at that time, people were still wearing masks. And so we walked in the church, and we had to do a name tag or something. The lady was at the table, and she gave us masks and whatever. And she, you know, we had me and my 3 adult children, we had to put name tags on and put our name on it, and then we had to wear masks. So it was like, okay, that's fine, that's fair. And so we were gonna sit in the back of the church. I can't remember if they were trying to sit us in the back of the church, or I told her I wanted to be in the front. But anyway, I always like to be in the front, so I can see her. I want to see what's going on. And so that's just, I did that at the church we went to in Tennessee. I loved sitting in the front. And so, front and center. And so she moved us down to the front, and it was a whole 2-3 rows in the front that I think were empty, if I'm not mistaken. And so we sat on the pew down there, and I just felt like everybody was staring at us. And I was like, do we look, you know, because I had a little insecurity, y'all, because I was like, do we look like we ain't got no house, or we look needy or something? Because everybody was just looking at us strange. And so I was like, what's going on? Ain't we black too? But I was just like, I didn't, I mean, y'all, I'm serious. It was just like, ain't y'all my people? You know, but see, that was God's holy light on us. And, you know, and God also was telling me, what are you doing? Didn't I call you out? You know, it ain't about Baptist. It ain't about that. It's about what did I tell you to come here? You know, but I don't believe I really prayed about going there. I just went because I was invited. But y'all, when I say this, and this is not a racist comment by any way, but it was so uncomfortable. I felt like I was in a church of a totally different race of people, and I'm not even exaggerating. I was, even my children, they felt it too, and I was like, "What's going on?" You know, and I was looking up like, "Ain't we the same colors, y'all?" You know, but that was God making it uncomfortable because He was like, "I didn't tell you to come here, and you're not supposed to be here. Didn't I call you out of this? This is not. That's not what it's about. It's about everybody. It's about being with everybody," and that's what He told me. I'm calling you out of that stuff you've been raised under. And so, you know, again, you know, I was wanting what I wanted. And I enjoyed the service. The message was, I can't remember what the pastor was preaching about, but I felt like I needed to be there to hear that, if nothing else, what the pastor was preaching about that Sunday. Because I think he was saying, I'm paraphrasing, but he was talking about the timing of Jesus and how God opened doors, if I'm not mistaken. That's what he's talking about. But, you know, I felt like I needed to hear that, and I was encouraged through that message. But yeah, you know, I was standing up clapping, and you know, we were engaged in the service, but it was just like, you know, and nobody, you know, said hello to us, or, you know, after church was over, you know, nobody said, "Who are y'all?" or, because I was like trying to, you know, see who I could talk to or whatever. But it's like nobody even, it's like we were not there. I'm like, are we visible? You know? So I don't know if God hid us in that way so I would not want to go back there, or He closed that, you know, put that around us, a shield around us where, you know, I wouldn't like it, because He was like, that's not where I want you to go. You know, because the church we attend now, perfect fit. Perfect fit, and it's non-denominational, and I love it there. I love it there. It's like we've been there forever. But you know, I feel like that's what, you know, the Lord was doing. He was like, no, you're not going to even like it here, and I'm going to make sure you don't like it here, you know. But I believe that's what it was. He closed that, so I wouldn't even want to go there again, because He said, this is not what I have for you. You know, I've delivered you from that religious spirit. I've delivered you from that way of thinking. You know, I want you to go higher. And so, yeah, but I thought that was so strange, because I was like, you know, even in the South, when you go to somebody see somebody new, and I had told the lady in the lobby area, you know, she was very nice. She was very nice, y'all. Very welcoming. And she said, well, thank you. Hope you all enjoy the service, or something like that. But the pastor, nobody, like, they saw us, and I'm sure they, you know, we had name tags on, so it was very obvious that we were new there, or, you know, had never been there. But nobody came and talked to us. I don't remember nobody talking to us, or, you know, this y'all first time, or engaged in conversation, anything. So I was like, okay, that was different. Because, and the other thing, it sort of got, you know, made me think, because I was like, I was looking for that couple. I was like, where's that couple at? Because if I don't talk to nobody else, I can find them and talk to them. They invited us. Y'all, I didn't even see them there. So I don't know. I honestly don't know what happened with that. But they did invite us. And even my children said, Mama, did you look for the couple? And I said, yeah, I didn't see them. And I you know, from that, we just had seen them a few days ago. I would have recognized them had I seen them. But I didn't. I looked that church over. I didn't see them. And like I said, nobody talked to us or had any type of conversation with us, or hello, how you doing? Are you gonna come back? So we, after church was over, the service was nice, you know, choir singing, and the message was so on time. I really needed it's very timely. But yeah, I don't know what was, but like I said, I believe God closed that door so I wouldn't go back there again. He did that purposefully. And He said, you ain't gonna go back here, because you ain't supposed to be here, you know, because that would have hindered me from being at the church that I was supposed to be at, you know, because I would have got comfortable. And He know me. He know all of us, His children. So I'm thankful for that. But we, you know, went out of the church and went out into the lobby and went on back, you know, went to our cars. And even the children said, Mama, what was that? I said, I don't know, you know. And as I think back on that now, y'all, it was not meant to be. God allowed it to be that way, so I would not, want to go back there. And I haven't been back there. But I will be honest. There was a time when I had sort of, and that's when the enemy was. I was tossing and turning, and I was trying to, long in the just going through my confusion stage. That was 2023. And I was actually thinking about going back there to visit again. And the Lord said, don't you dare. Don't you dare. And so, because I had took a break. That's when I had took a break from the church I attend now. And the Lord said, do not leave this church unless I tell you to leave this church. And I have not told you to leave this church. So don't you do it. Don't you do it. I'm doing something here. And so I have not. That's when I had took a break from greeting. And I said, I'm just going to take a break. But I really wasn't taking a break from greeting. I was trying to go somewhere else. And everywhere I was trying to visit, it was a fail. Because God said, go back. Go back to where I told you to stay. I didn't tell you to leave. Go back there. And so that's where I'm not going nowhere till he tell me to leave. But anyway, I wanted to share that because, it ain't about the color of our skin. It ain't about none of that. It's about being where God has purpose for you to be. It's about being where God has told you to go. We that's what's wrong now. We want to go where our friends at. We want to go where people look like us at. But God said, I love everybody. And this ain't, like I said, this ain't bashing black churches, because I still watch black church services on TV, on YouTube videos. I still do that to this day. But I also enjoy how God has delivered me from that mindset of thinking, that way of thinking, I got it, because that's how I was raised, And even during, COVID, that time, I had started visiting non-denominational churches then. And my children was like, Mama, why are we going to a white church? I said, son, daughters, children, I said, in heaven, it ain't gonna be no black and white. It ain't gonna be no all these different nationalities, all these different races. I said, it's gonna be everybody gathered around God's holy throne, worshiping him. It ain't gonna be about that. And I said, it's a rehearsal now. Let's rehearse now. How are we gonna do it in heaven? How are we gonna worship in heaven? It's gonna be all together. And that's a word for somebody. We gotta get out of things that we've been raised under, because a lot of it ain't even right. It's not right. But we do it because it's comfortable. We do it because we want to do it. But God is calling us out, y'all. It's time to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. That's what it's time. It's high time for that. And I'm thankful because even at this church that we attend, it's all races. It's all races, and I love it. I love it. And it's like a bonus. I'm getting the word. I'm around all these different races. I love it. I'm learning stuff. I'm learning about different food. And then talking to them, conversating with them every Sunday. I get to meet so many people. It's just freedom. It really is. But and loving on, everybody loving on each other. And then on top of it all, we getting the word. We're getting God's holy word being taught to us every Sunday. So I've never seen color, y'all. I don't look at people like that. Even though I got people in my family that do. But I look at the heart. I look at how people treat me. I look at how they talk to me, That's what I look at. I see past the color. I see past all that, And I want to welcome you because I want to see, what can I do to help you? Is there anything you need? And then I'm meeting people, they talk to me the same kind of way. So y'all, I'm so thankful. I really am, for my life. I'm thankful for how God has changed my mindset, which I've never been in that mindset. Because even when I was around family in Tennessee, and they would make little snide remarks about different races or whatever, I was like, that's not how I feel. I don't agree with that comment, or I don't agree with that statement, because I would say it often to my mom, and I would tell her, I said, I love everybody. I ain't got a problem with nobody, and she get quiet or whatever, because everybody got different views on stuff they see on the news or whatever. But I'm not like that. I'm like, Jesus loves everybody. And when I say I love Jesus, that means I got to love everybody too. And it ain't no, it's a command. It ain't no if I feel like it or if they treat me right today. You got to love them. You got to love them. If you want to go to heaven, you got to love them. So, and I'm thankful, y'all. That's all I can say with that. I'm so thankful. But quit looking for, people that look like you. Quit looking, when you're looking for a church home, you're looking for a worship place, quit. Don't let that be the way how you gonna make your decision. Don't let that be your, this is where I need to be, because it very well may not be where you need to be. God is calling us out, and He purposely placed me in this church so I could bless people, so they could bless me. It ain't about me. It ain't about me. It ain't about you. It ain't about none of us. It's about Jesus. That He get the honor, the glory, and the praise. And like I said, I love my race of people. I do. But also, I love other races. I love all races, And I shared a video about that a few days ago, a short. And, all lives matter to Jesus. All lives matter. Jesus died for everybody. And we're supposed to love on everybody. It ain't about, this is what we do at our church, and we eat chicken over here, we do this, we do that, and, but we're supposed to all be worshiping Jesus. We're supposed to all be glorifying Him, magnifying Him. And you should be able to find that at any worship house, worship place. But yeah, let's get out of that religious spirit, and let's get to know what God wants to do in our lives, And a lot of times He's calling us out of the familiar. He wants us to do, He's calling us out. Because see, a lot of times in that familiar place, you're not growing. You're stagnant. You're stale. You're doing the same stuff every Sunday. You're just going to church because, people look like you. You're just going to church because, you can eat chicken afterwards, in the fellowship hall. I'm just being honest because that's what I was doing. But God said, I'm calling you out of that. It's something more. It's something more. And ask God, what do we got for you? He'll tell you. So y'all, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I love you all with the love of Christ. I always pray that you hear and see Jesus in me and never me. Have a beautiful, blessed Thursday evening. Thank you all for listening. Bye-bye.